In the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, where the trees grew tall and the mist clung to the ground like a shroud, there was a legend whispered among the local tribes. They spoke of the Wolfen, a fearsome creature, neither fully wolf nor fully human, capable of exchanging souls with certain members of their tribes. This ability made them both revered and feared, creatures of ritual and terror. It was late October, and the nights were growing longer. A group of friends, drawn by the allure of the unknown, decided to venture into the forest. There was Thomas, the skeptic Emma, the folklore enthusiast Jake, the adventurous one, and Lily, who seemed to have an unexplainable connection to the place. They camped near a clearing where they believed an ancient ceremony had once been performed, a site said to be haunted by the spirits of the Wolfen. The night was eerily quiet. The only sounds were the rustling of leaves and the occasional hoot of an owl. As the group sat around the fire, Emma began to recount the tale she had read. Legend has it, she began, her voice barely above a whisper, that the Wolfen are guardians of the forest, bound to it by ancient rituals. They can blend in with the pack, appearing as normal wolves, but when the moon is full, they reveal their true nature. They exchange souls with chosen humans, sharing their consciousness. This bond grants them powers beyond imagination, but comes with a terrible curse. Thomas scoffed, "It's just a story to scare kids. There's no such thing as soul-swapping werewolves." Lily, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up, her eyes distant and thoughtful. "My grandmother used to tell me that the Wolfen choose their hosts carefully. They seek those with a strong connection to the land, those who can hear the whispers of the forest." Jake, ever the thrill-seeker, grinned. "Well, I say we find out if there's any truth to it. Let's explore the clearing." Despite their initial reluctance, the others agreed. The moon was full, casting an ethereal glow over the forest. As they approached the clearing, they noticed the air seemed thicker, heavier. A sense of unease settled over them. In the center of the clearing stood a massive, ancient tree, its bark gnarled and twisted. Strange symbols were carved into its trunk, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Emma stepped closer, her curiosity piqued. "These are symbols of the Wolfen. This is where they perform their rituals." Suddenly, the silence was shattered by a low, guttural growl. The friends turned to see glowing eyes watching them from the darkness. The shapes of wolves emerged, but these were no ordinary wolves. They were larger, more menacing, with an air of intelligence in their eyes. The leader of the pack stepped forward, its fur shimmering as if woven from shadows. It locked eyes with Lily, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. She felt a pull, a connection she couldn't explain. The wolf growled again, a sound that resonated deep within her. Without warning, Lily stepped forward, as if in a trance. The others called out to her, but she seemed not to hear. The wolf met her gaze unwaveringly. There was a flash of light, and Lily collapsed to the ground. The wolves howled, a sound that echoed through the forest, chilling the blood of the remaining friends. As they rushed to Lily's side, they found her breathing but unconscious. The leader of the pack approached, sniffing the air around her. It looked at the others, its eyes filled with an unsettling mixture of sorrow and resolve. Emma's voice trembled. "This is it, the ritual. It's happening." But before she could say more, the wolves began to circle the group, their growls growing louder, more threatening. The leader stepped back, its eyes never leaving Lily. And then, with a final, haunting howl, the wolves disappeared into the darkness, leaving the friends alone in the clearing with the unconscious Lily. As Thomas, Emma, and Jake tried to wake her, a sense of dread washed over them. What had they awakened in this ancient forest? And more importantly, what had Lily become? The moon hung high in the sky, casting its cold light on the clearing, and the whispers of the forest seemed to grow louder, more insistent. The ritual was far from over, and the true nature of the Wolfen was yet to be revealed. Lily stirred, her eyes fluttering open. They were no longer the familiar brown her friends knew. They glowed a haunting, luminescent amber. She looked at them, her expression distant and strange. "Lily, are you okay?" Emma asked, her voice quivering. Lily sat up slowly, her movements unnervingly smooth, almost predatory. I don't know. Everything feels different," she said, her voice sounding both like her own and yet not. Thomas, always the skeptic, reached out a hand to help her up. "We need to get out of here. Now." But as he helped Lily to her feet, a low growl emanated from her throat, and she pulled her hand back, staring at him with those otherworldly eyes. "We can't leave. Not yet. There's something unfinished." Jake, usually fearless, felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean, unfinished?" Lily looked towards the ancient tree, the symbols now glowing brighter. "The ritual. It's not complete. The Wolfen. They need something more. They need me." Emma shook her head, fear and confusion etched on her face. "No, we're getting out of here. We'll find help." As they argued, the forest around them seemed to come alive. The trees creaked and groaned, and the mist thickened, swirling around them. Shadows moved at the edge of their vision, and the air grew colder. Suddenly, Lily clutched her head and screamed, a sound that seemed to reverberate through the very earth. Her body convulsed, and the friends watched in horror as her form began to change, her features becoming more lupin, her hands transforming into claws. "Run!" Jake shouted, grabbing Emma and Thomas by their arms and pulling them away from the clearing. As they fled through the forest, the howls of the Wolfen echoed behind them, closer and closer. Branches whipped at their faces, the ground seemed to shift beneath their feet, but they kept running, driven by sheer terror. They burst out of the forest into a small clearing where an old, abandoned cabin stood. Without hesitation, they rushed inside, slamming the door behind them. They leaned against it, panting, their hearts racing. "What the hell just happened?" Thomas gasped. Emma peered out of a cracked window. "Lily? She changed? She became one of them." Jake paced the small room, his mind racing. "We need to figure out what to do. If the ritual isn't complete, maybe there's a way to reverse it." Emma nodded, her eyes scanning the dusty, cobweb-covered shelves. "There might be something here. This cabin looks ancient. Maybe there's information about the Wolfen, about the ritual." As they searched the cabin, they found old, weathered books and scrolls, filled with strange symbols and stories of the Wolfen. Emma translated what she could, her eyes widening with each discovery. "The ritual binds the human and the Wolfen," she read aloud. "But there is a way to break it. A counter-ritual performed under a blood moon, with the heart of the chosen one at its center." Thomas blanched. "The heart? You mean we have to kill Lily?" Emma shook her head. "Not necessarily. It says the heart must be offered willingly. There might be another way." Just then, the cabin door rattled, and a low growl echoed through the night. They turned to see Lily standing in the doorway, her eyes glowing, her form caught between human and Wolf. "You can't run from this," she said, her voice a guttural snarl. "The ritual must be completed." The friends stood frozen, torn between fear and their determination to save Lily. As the moonlight streamed through the window, casting eerie shadows on the walls, they realized the true depth of their peril. "There's another way, Lily," Emma said, stepping forward. "We can find it together." Lily's eyes flickered, a moment of humanity breaking through the beast. "Hurry," she whispered, "before it's too late." With the ancient books in hand, and the Wolfen closing in, the friends knew they had only one chance to save their friend and themselves. The forest around them was alive with the spirits of the Wolfen, and the night was far from over. The blood moon was rising, and the final battle for Lily's soul was about to begin. The blood moon cast an eerie glow over the cabin, its crimson light filtering through the cracks in the walls and windows. The friends felt the weight of ancient forces pressing in around them, the air thick with tension and the scent of pine and earth. Emma quickly scanned the ancient texts, her fingers trembling as she found the section detailing the counter-ritual. "We need specific herbs, a circle of stones, and a symbolic offering from the heart of the chosen one," she read aloud. "But it doesn't necessarily mean her heart. It could be something she holds dear, something that represents her essence." Thomas frowned. "Where are we going to find these herbs and stones out here? And what could we use as the offering?" Lily, now more Wolf than human, struggled to control herself. Her eyes, though still glowing, showed a flicker of recognition. "The herbs, they're around the clearing. The stones, you need to find the stones that form a natural circle. And for the offering, my mother's locket. It's buried beneath the tree." Jake nodded, determination replacing his fear. "All right, Emma and I will find the herbs and stones. Thomas, you and Lily dig up the locket. We need to hurry." The group split up, each moving with purpose despite the looming presence of the Wolfen. Emma and Jake searched the underbrush, identifying the necessary herbs by their descriptions in the text. The herbs were surprisingly abundant, almost as if they had been planted there for this very purpose. Meanwhile, Thomas and Lily approached the ancient tree. The symbols on its bark seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Lily clawed at the ground, her strength tearing through the earth, until she unearthed a small, tarnished locket. She held it up to the moonlight, her eyes softening with memory. Thomas touched her arm gently. "We will save you, Lily. We will finish this." As the group reconvened, they arranged the stones in a perfect circle in the clearing and placed the herbs at its center. Emma opened the locket, revealing a tiny photograph of Lily's mother. She placed it in the center of the herbs, and the moonlight seemed to intensify, bathing the clearing in a surreal, red glow. Emma began to chant the words from the text, her voice strong and clear despite the fear that gripped her heart. Lily stood at the center of the circle, her body trembling as the ritual took hold. The forest around them grew silent, the only sound the rhythmic cadence of Emma's chanting. The air crackled with energy, and the friends watched in awe and terror as the symbols on the tree glowed brighter, the light weaving into a web that encircled Lily. She let out a howl, a sound filled with both agony and defiance, as the ritual reached its peak. Suddenly, the ground shook, and the Wolfen appeared at the edge of the clearing, their eyes fixed on the scene before them. The leader of the pack stepped forward, its gaze locked on Lily. The connection between them was palpable, a bond forged in ancient rites and blood. Emma's voice rose above the din, the final words of the chant echoing through the clearing. "By the light of the blood moon, we sever the bond, we break the curse, we free the chosen one." A blinding flash of light exploded from the circle, and the Wolfen howled in unison, their cries a mixture of anger and sorrow. When the light faded, Lily lay at the center of the circle, her body still. The friends rushed to her side, their hearts pounding with fear. "Lily? Lily, wake up!" Emma cried, shaking her gently. Lily's eyes fluttered open, their amber glow fading to a soft, human brown. She took a deep breath, her body relaxing as she looked around at her friends. "It's over," she whispered, a tear slipping down her cheek. The Wolfen stood at the edge of the clearing, their leader stepping forward. It looked at Lily, then at the others, and nodded slowly before turning and disappearing into the forest, the pack following silently behind. As the first light of dawn began to break, the friends helped Lily to her feet. They gathered their things and made their way back through the forest, the weight of the night still heavy on their minds. But as they left the clearing, a single wolf howl echoed through the trees, a reminder that the bond between the Wolfen and the humans, though severed, was not entirely broken. The forest held many secrets, and the legacy of the Wolfen would continue to linger, waiting for the next blood moon. And so, with their hearts still pounding and their minds filled with unanswered questions, the friends walked on, knowing that their journey was far from over, and the mysteries of the Wolfen were yet to be fully revealed. As the first light of dawn began to break, the friends helped Lily to her feet. They gathered their things and made their way back through the forest, the weight of the night still heavy on their minds. The forest seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, the shadows retreating as the sun rose higher. But as they walked, an uneasy silence settled over the group. The events of the night had left them shaken, and they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The trees, once protective, now seemed to close in around them. "We're almost out," Jake said, trying to sound optimistic. "Just a bit further." Lily, though human again, moved with a strange, almost feral grace. She seemed distant, her eyes flickering with remnants of the Wolfen's power. Emma and Thomas exchanged worried glances but said nothing, their focus on getting out of the forest. Suddenly, Lily stopped, her head tilted as if listening to something only she could hear. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. The others paused, straining to hear. At first, there was nothing, but then a faint, rhythmic drumming reached their ears, growing louder with each passing moment. It was a sound both ancient and powerful, resonating deep within their bones. "Lily, we need to keep moving," Thomas urged, but she shook her head. "The ritual," she said, her voice hollow. "It wasn't completed. The Wolfen, they're calling me back." Before they could react, Lily turned and ran back towards the clearing, her movements swift and inhumanly graceful. The others chased after her, their calls echoing through the forest, but she was too fast. They arrived back at the clearing, breathless and terrified. Lily stood at the center, her eyes glowing with an intense amber light. The symbols on the tree pulsed with a renewed energy, the air crackling with an almost palpable malevolence. The leader of the Wolfen pack emerged from the shadows, its eyes locked on Lily. It let out a low, guttural growl, and the other wolves appeared, surrounding the clearing. There was no escape. Emma, Jake, and Thomas backed away, fear gripping their hearts. "Lily, please," Emma cried, "come back to us." But Lily's gaze was fixed on the leader of the Wolfen. "I understand now," she said, her voice a blend of human and Wolf. "The ritual was never meant to free me. It was meant to bind me to them, forever." With a chilling howl, Lily's transformation began anew. Her body contorted, bones cracking as she shifted into her looping form. This time, there was no going back. The Wolfen howled in unison, their voices blending into a haunting symphony. The friends watched in horror as Lily, now fully transformed, joined the pack. The leader of the Wolfen stepped forward, its eyes gleaming with satisfaction. It nodded once, a gesture of acceptance, and together, the pack turned and vanished into the depths of the forest. Emma, Jake, and Thomas stood in stunned silence, the reality of their failure sinking in. The sun rose higher, casting harsh light on the clearing that had witnessed their friend's final transformation. With heavy hearts, they made their way out of the forest, leaving behind the haunted clearing and the echoes of the Wolfen's howls. They had lost Lily to the ancient curse, and the knowledge that they had played a part in her fate was a burden they would carry forever. As they reached the edge of the forest, they turned for one last look. The shadows seemed to move, the trees whispering secrets they would never fully understand. The forest had claimed another soul, and the legacy of the Wolfen would continue, darker and more powerful than ever. And so, they left, knowing that the blood moon would rise again, and with it, the eternal hunger of the Wolfen, waiting for the next unsuspecting souls to wander into their domain. The forest was alive with ancient magic, and its grip was unbreakable. The story of the Wolfen was far from over, and its ending was written in blood and moonlight, a tale of terror and transformation that would never truly end.